Alright, so I'm going to work on modifying the FRM1 or the framing plan. That's just really the ceiling joists for this particular plan. Again, since I stole this plan from another plan, I have to modify the title block. So as I showed in another video, I do have a title block for this one already written up. I'm going to open it up real quick and zoom in. Put that at the bottom edge and open this one up and size it a little differently. And now I can just copy this information. So again, it's project number 2121. Currently there's no job number because it just hasn't been added to the system yet. It is lot 3, block 4, no section. This is 5304 Aurora Drive. I added that to the other one. Austin, Texas 78756. It is a north swing. There's no plan number yet. It's the Aberton plan. Central Texas is fine. Sometimes they also call it Central Living. FRM1, I'm going to keep the same date, 3/19/14, even though today's date is actually the 23rd. I like to keep that date the same so it looks like that same set was all worked on or started on the same day. Drawn by DWC. Enter. Scale is enter. Revision. I haven't done any revisions yet. Sky, Wind, Terrace, enter, enter. Alright, max that back out again. And I think I've already turned this page into the PDF writer that I use, so I know that the page size is correct. Alright, so here's the joist plan. You can tell by looking at it that it's not up to date at all. So we're going to open this up, and first thing we want to do is figure out where this joist and rafter pull point is, and I'm going to put it just back here. And you can see as I had moved doors, and I modified this plan quite a bit, some of these headers got left behind. I'm also just going to check real quick and see where the previous joists were. Is it still on a 2-foot increment from this corner? So I'm going to measure over, and it's at 14.6, so it's not. It is not. And I know I shrank the house, so if I measure from that same point up, are these at an even number? That's 17'8". It is off as well. So we are in essence going to have to start over on this. So what I'm going to do is turn, well, there's a few ways. I think the quickest way is just to save a few of these because I like to use these, steal them for later, and then just quickly go in and erase everything. I see the medicine cabinets are on. Let's turn those off. This can stay on because that is our return air, and we'll need to place that inside the joists. There's some random, if you ever see these just floating around and you touch one of them and the other one does not light up, that means that it is an exploded header from a door. So since these are individual, that means I can erase them. See how when I touch this one, the whole thing lights up? That means that is a block still, and that if I erase that, I'll actually erase the door as well. So that can be erased, all this can be erased. I'm just going to clean all this up. This will only take a second. Erase these beams. Erase. Yeah, I'm going to keep that beam because it's got the right layers and everything in place. And I may as well keep this one too. Just set it out here. Erase this. Erase this. That's a gas line. Right now, if you were to touch it and look up here, it says it's in layer 0, but that's because the entire block is in layer 0. If you actually explode it and then touch it, you can see it's in layer gas. So undo the explode. And now if you just turn off gas, or freeze it, sorry, it'll disappear. So that's what happens when you have layers embedded inside of blocks. Erase, 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 erase. I can leave that beam there. That's a good spot for a beam, right? Nothing wrong with that. Alright, these are just rafters, so we leave that alone, leave those alone. Seems like a lot of wasted work here, but that's okay. That's what we got to do it right. The more we erase and start from scratch, the less likely we are to make mistakes. Alright, so I think we're ready to start. First thing we're going to do is turn on the headers, and go in and fill all these windows and doors. This will take a couple minutes. So you're going to go around the entire drawing like this and just fill every door and window with a line, including pretty much anything less than, I would say, 6 feet in size. You could put one here, but I'm not going to. I'll actually put a beam there. I'm just going to pause it now while I go ahead and add all those headers so you don't have to watch me do that. Okay, so I've got all the headers put in. So the next thing we want to do is go ahead and put the beams in that we're going to have. So anything more than about 6 feet in span, we want to have a beam. So we'll just push this over here. On the porches, I almost always just do a triple beam just to cover our tails on everything. And triple 2x12s can span, as long as there's not a room above it, but if there's a room it would be a truss, and we don't design those. As long as there's no room and it's only a roof, you can actually span a triple 2x12 about 18-19 feet. So in this case, I'm just measuring here a distance, and I'm looking at the bottom of my screen, 9'4". All we need is basically 1.5 inches on each end. So if it's 9'4", that means we only need 9'7". So that's a 10-foot triple 2x12 dropped beam. And again, that's a dropped beam because I'll just show you real quick a cross section of that. If this is the wall of the house, and then the roof, and I'm talking about this wall here, okay? And we know it's, let's say it's a 7 and 12 pitch or 6 and 12 pitch. Offset this 6 inches, 12-inch overhang, and then come down 6 inches and over. That's our box, very very simple box soffit. Well, once it gets into this porch area here, it's just going to be a 2x12 beam, a triple 2x12. It's going to look like that. Okay. And it's actually going to be 3 of them, which lines up nicely with a 2x6 wall anyway. So the reason it's a drop beam is because when we have a 10-foot 1-inch wall, it's measured to the top of the beam. So this beam is dropped. See how it's dropped from 10 foot down. A flush beam is what we will do inside the house right here in a minute. And the way that looks is, again, when we have our wall, just undoing everything. There's our wall again. Put our top plate on. There's our top plate. Inside the house, when we put a beam in, it sets up above the wall like this. So this is our beam, and it's flush to the ceiling. That makes sense? So that's a 10-foot one sitting on top of the plate. This is a flush beam, or an FB. If it did say drop beam, then what that would mean is that for some reason they want it to sit inside like this. And so the room would have a 10-foot ceiling with a dropped beam in there. Alright, so that's the DB versus the FB. I'm going to pull this over, and we're going to put another beam right here. Doesn't have to be exact, we don't have to line these up. The framers will do that correctly in the field. This one, oops, I left that at an angle. This one is 9 feet, so again it'll be the same 10-foot beam. And then this one is actually a slightly different span. The reason is I was trying to line up this column with this piece of wall here so that the windows to the family room had a clear view. So this span is actually wider instead of being equidistant. This is a 11-foot 4, which means we could do a 12-foot easily. Alright, so those are the beams. They're all drop beams on porches. Porches always have drop beams. You can't do a flush beam because that means the roof would have to go up a foot higher. So this is a 4-foot double 2x12. That's okay. We don't have to do a triple here. Where else do we want to do a beam? Oops, you know what? I forgot a header here. That's just cheap. Let's steal this one. There. We're going to need a small beam. Oh, we have one right here. Let's title this one. We can also do this one as a double. We don't have to do a triple. It's a very small span. It's 3'6", so 4 foot is fine there. Let's just copy this and add one down here. Good enough. We're going to need some beams in here. This is a big open room. We can't have our joists spanning this whole distance. So what we're going to do is put a beam here. And as much as possible, we don't want this beam on top of this window. So sometimes you can't avoid it, but in this case we can, and we have. So this is a span on the left of 18'1", and a span on the right of 9'8". So what we will probably want to do for that, since we don't know for sure how much deflection this beam can handle, is just call this a 14-foot engineered flush beam. We want it to be up in the ceiling, not dropped down. Okay, and then this one here is going to be shorter. And this one is it's an 8-foot span, so we'll do it 10 foot. And since we're only doing 10 foot, I'm very comfortable doing a 10-foot triple 2x12 flush beam. That doesn't pose a huge deflection issue on only an 8-foot span. When in doubt, just call out engineered beam, and the other folks will do that. The lumber company will do it. Alright, so I don't think we need any more beams. We can also look at the exterior elevation to see if we had any gables that were going to be over a portion of the roof that didn't have a wall below it. This gable has a wall directly below it, so that is supported. Every once in a while there'll be a gable like here that needs to sit on something, and when that's the case we have to go back and find out where it goes on this joist plan and make sure there's a beam there, but we're okay here for now. So we're going to start back in this corner and move our joists across the room, across the house. Alright, so this is where you'll need your little span chart list. Everything on this plan is going to be done on 24-inch centers. If the span chart does not meet 24 centers, then we'll do doubled 24 on center, which is basically the equivalent of 12 inches on center when you look at that span chart. So we'll start in this back corner, and we'll just offset or copy this over 24 inches and bring it up here. So that's our first joist, and we'll change it to the joists layer. And then we'll just offset it maybe this many times, see where we end up with it. Alright, so here we've got and I can grab, and I see there's 9 of them. So we'll just take this right here. And change this to 9. And then the distance of the span of this bedroom is 15'7". So if you look at your span chart, you can see that 15'7". This is for the 2013 updated Southern Pine span charts for ceiling joists. We're going to have to do a 2x12. That can go as much as 17 foot 5 inches. The 2x10s only went 14.9, so we're going to do 2x12 by, I think it was 16 feet. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention there. 15.7, yeah, a 16 footer would be fine. Now, incidentally, I also know that there is a roof that comes back here, and we know that it is a hip. There it is right there. And under this point, we're going to need to put a support to help hold that up. So we may as well just come in here right now and double this one and change this to 10. And you can take a little text and grab it and do this and just call it DBL for double. There's another way we do this later on too, where we'll take the roof, find the roof plan, turn it into a block, lay it over top, and look for all of the points where we need to have double up some beams for some support loads. Alright, so now we come over here. So now we've got, okay, we're going to have a whole string of these that'll just run this entire length until we get to this point right here. So let's just do an array. So copy array. I'm going to guess there's 18 of them at 24 inches on the center. There's a few too many, so it's there. I'll just come over here. And yes, we don't have to do these like that, but the framers can work a little faster, and it ends up being a little bit more efficient design if all the members are the same size. So yes, this one here and this one here could be a 2x6 instead of what it's going to be, but the cost savings doesn't outweigh the efficiency of just rolling a whole line of these. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've got 15 of these. Our span is 11'5". So we can do these all as 2x8s. 2x8 by 12 foot. Okay, 15 2x8s, 12 foot long. 11'7" means we have 5 extra inches, and that's plenty. Then let's see, starting right here, looks like we're going to go back to having a longer span just for a couple of these. Alright, we don't need that one. Yeah, we can just trim that end off. There'll be a little tiny joist right there. Since there's only 2 of these, I'm not going to draw the arrows. I'm just going to call them out directly. So this one is 14'6", and my 2x10s can go 14'9", so this can be a 16 foot 2x10, just like that. And just copy that. Now this is going to go all the way down the hall, so we're going to array this. Let's do 7 times at 24. A couple more of these will do. One more. Let's see. Yep. And now that we have that in place, we can put this return air between them, and then change it to joists, and go ahead and draw the little 2x6s that are going to go on the other side, because that little return air will be wrapped by 2x6s. So let's steal this and recall, or notate this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And these are going to be 2 by 6. It should be 4 feet, because I think this is only about a 3.5 foot hallway. It's 3'3", so 4 feet will do it. We do not need to double these like that. We do not need to do that for return air. We only do that for attic stairs. Anything that people might be crawling up through or getting equipment through. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a couple of joists in here. Since these are going to lap each other, we have to put them next to each other, and that's okay. That kind of offsets or disturbs our perfect symmetry, but again, that's fine. It doesn't, even if the stud is here, as long as it's within 1.5 inches or 2 inches of that stud, the bearing is fine. So again, since there's only 2 of these, we'll just call them out, and that's a 11 foot. But this wall here does provide support, so this can be a 2 by 6 because our spans are only 5.5 feet and 5 feet. So these can be 2 by 6s, but they're going to be the full length. We're not going to put a 2 by 6 here and then a separate 2 by 6 here. We'll just do one 2 by 6. So that'll be a 12 foot 2 by 6. 12 foot 2 by 6. There we go. Well, we're going to have a whole row of these, so I apologize. Let's just array this 6 times. We're going to require one. Yeah, why not? We can erase this one, though. We would not put a joist right over that wall. So let's copy this over here. Same thing here. There would be a joist here, but we don't need it. As long as that's 2 foot or less, we're fine, and it's 1 foot 10. So how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is actually a 10 foot 11 inch span, so it's 2 by 8. So we'll just do that. 2 by 8 by 12 foot. There are situations where that could be beneficial to have these, because then if somebody ever wanted to come and erase that wall, maybe make it a bigger wide open bathroom for more handicap accessibility, it's not holding up the walls above it, excuse me, the joists above it. So there's always a benefit to spanning that whole distance. Alright, so we're just going to keep on moving. This room here goes to here. I like the idea of splitting these up, though, because that would save some money, not doing a large one. So let's just do an array of 5, 24, one more, 24. So now we need to call out these little ones in the front, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and we have 3 foot 6, so it's going to be 6, 2 by 6 by 6 foot. Excuse me, 4 foot. And then this one is also 6. This time our span is a 10 foot 6, and that will require 2 by 8. We have 6, 2 by 8, and 12 foot long. Alright, I'm going to stop this video for the moment and continue doing the joist plan in the next video.